So last night I went to go see the new Indiana Jones movie, and I don't know about you guys. Do you guys ever like hear a theme music to like a movie or something, just kind of get you jacked up?
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't know what it is about that theme, but when you hear that, dun, 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 you just feel like you can do anything.
I agree. That's a great. I actually sing that one a lot in my head.
Sue's like, all right, I gotta edit all these videos and everything. Dun, 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 dun.
It's like I'm gonna brush my teeth.
Whatever gets you through the day.
That's right.
No, it was, and obviously I'm not gonna go into a huge review. It was a good movie, so if you like Indiana Jones movies, definitely go check that out. So, the other thing that kind of popped into my head when I was sitting there watching that movie, because, I have a train of thought and it often goes off the rails. I was thinking about like...
Is that the design of the show?
Yeah.
That's basically
he's in charge.
Right. And that's why I'm in charge. I was thinking about like mixtapes, and did you guys ever make mixtapes for people?
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I still
Absolutely.
do.
Yeah, I actually still have a bunch of them. Occasionally I'll like put them in a tape player and they sound like such ass now because they're so worn out. But
Did you record them off the radio?
I have in the past, but a lot of the mixtapes were ones that were given to me. Those are the ones I saved.
Because all the girls were like, "Oh, Stu, I love you."
Back when he had hair and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, I made you a Rush mix.
Nobody did that.
Yeah, I don't.
Actually, my cousin Steve made me a Rush mix. He's the one who got me into Rush. So,
well, that's a special one, certainly. Yeah. I remember making cassette mixtapes back in the day. I definitely was doing it for girls. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Steve's like, like, I know what you're talking about. I think I ever made one CD mixtape, and that was actually for my wife. And now nobody has CD players in their cars.
Man, I made a few. I mean, Abby and I exchanged mixes when we first got together. It was that long ago. Yeah. And I actually made some CD mixes for some kids that I taught music to back in Seattle. And so like, and one girl actually made me one because I was talking about like the music I knew, what I didn't know. And she made me one that was like, she titled it like, "Crawl out from under that rock you've been under and listen to something new." And then I like made her a mix of like of just like older stuff that old people like me listen to. But dude, I got one friend that I made one for, and I don't think she's probably never listened to it because she doesn't like she's ever had a CD player in her life. She was like, "Oh, how do you play this?
What is this?"
Yeah.
Shiny.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a place for mixtapes anymore in this digital world?
I still do it. I'll send people playlists like that I make. I'll do like a 10 or 15 song playlist on Spotify and like send it to them.
Never to me, because I have Apple Music and you have Spotify, and they don't play well together.
Yeah, that's your own fault.
But do you think there's a world where people are like, "Hey, I made you this playlist because, girl, I'm into you," and they send you a playlist on like...
I bet it happens.
I would think
I bet that's going on now. Yeah.
But does it lose...
I have children, teenage children, and this happens.
They're doing that.
frequently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does it lose the magic though?
I don't know. For them, I think that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, part of what was great about the mixtapes when you get them is like when somebody would really go to the effort to like draw on the tape cover and like fancy lettering and like
and actually
different.
And take the time to like plot out the arrangement of the music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the joy of physical media. It's not just the listening to, but you also have this artifact in your hands that like there's something that's been put into it. Especially with mixtapes, it was it's personal.
Definitely, definitely.
So I made Chelsea a mix CD, and we still have it. Like I saw it before I came over here, and then I made her like a mixtape playlist at one point. She probably never listened to it, but I can't remember if it was like our anniversary 2 years ago. She actually made me a mixed record.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then she took the time, and she actually, because we got like blank record covers, and she actually drew like a cover on the front and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So that's out in my record collection and everything. Obviously not. I didn't put it on Discogs because I'm like, no one else is gonna have this.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciated the thought. She said it was a little expensive, but she.
Oh, I can only
No,
imagine.
that's awesome. Like a boutique mix record. I didn't even know that was an option. So. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did look at. I don't know which one she used, but I looked at other ones, and I want to say it's in the vicinity of like $100
That's not horrible for something.
for a single individual record press. I don't think that's terrible.
I mean, to spend on you $100, that's yeah. She must really like you.
she's
That's
trapped.
the fishy part.
Fun fact: it's our anniversary on July 13th, so she's been stuck with me for I believe it's going on 7 years now. Poor
Yeah.
girl, she hasn't come to her senses yet. So, all right, so let's what's new, guys? You guys pick up anything? Make it to any shows or anything?
Oh, it's been rock and roll week here for old Steve. It's been crazy. Had a couple of friends come in on Thursday. Stu and I went up to Ledgestone Gardens in Greenleaf, Wisconsin.
Beautiful,
and,
beautiful
The
place.
epicenter of culture in the state of Wisconsin, Greenleaf.
It was on Thursday night, that's for darn sure. Yeah, there we went up with, I don't know, 500 or 600 of our closest friends, and so I got to see Sam Burchfield and the Scoundrels. Just awesome show, beautiful weather. It was good.
Yeah, that's a great place to go see a show. I recommend it to anyone. It was not that expensive, and like
Yeah,
great beer.
Tickets for $10.
The food was really good.
Food was
I don't
good.
know if
Beer
you
was
had any,
good.
but
They're actually a vineyard and beer brewery, so they get in-house wine, in-house beer right there on site. Yeah, just a well-run night. And then my kid Sid and I went up and saw Sam and the boys on Friday night in Mosinee, Wisconsin. Completely different atmosphere. Went from like outdoor, big, large, like boulder, like faced stage, festival kind of a feeling, to a 75 head room set up like more like a kind of like somebody's library, just like bookshelves in the back and a nice little hippie rug on the floor, and the stage was just floor level. You sit 2
more
feet from it.
intimate and personal.
Yep, and still just a complete different vibe, but it was just another epic set. Got to meet a new artist, this cat from California. I forget exactly where, but Willie.
California's not a very big place.
Yeah, it's not a very big place.
They all know each other
right in the
out
center.
there.
Yeah. Willie T. Taylor. He had just played the Valley on July 4th, and I missed him because how doing 4th of July stuff. But I was glad to be able to catch him.
Is he a blues guy?
No, he's kind of like alt country, I guess, would probably be the best, broad descriptor. Very reminiscent of Deer Tick and like a little bit of Dylan, a little bit of Bob Dylan.
Little
in there.
Bobby D.
Yeah, he's just like his songwriting style is just kind of. I think that's more where I get the Dylan from, but a lot of the music was just really reminded me of Deer Tick. If you know
He
them
doesn't
at
sing
all.
like Bob Dylan though, does he?
No. He does have he's actually got a really good voice.
That's good.
Willie's got like a kind of one of those buttery smooth, like real baritone, kind of thing. He's just a big old hippie, but like a country hippie, like wearing boots and a hat and stoner glasses and big ass beard, and he's a funny cat.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. And then Saturday night, this big park in Appleton, Wisconsin here, Jones Park, hosted a deal called Sky Dance, a little like one-day festival. Got to see 4 bands. Only one band I had ever heard of or seen before, this band Motherfolk that I talk about every now and again. But there was, I'm trying to think of the other 3 names. I should have written them down. One of them that played right before Motherfolk, probably one of the best names, Post Sex Nachos. They were
That's glorious.
Yeah, they were pretty good. They put on a nice show. Another band from, I believe they're from Chicago. Kind of a punk. I don't even know how to describe them. Kind of like they got that same energy of like Fall Out Boy and Sum 41, maybe just a little bit crisper and cleaner, but that same kind of Chicago punk kid energy. Just really, really energetic dudes, and just they put on a great show, and they were called Worry Club. I can remember that.
It's a good name too.
Yeah, it was very fitting. And then the opener, I cannot remember their name. I'm sorry. But they were a local band that started, I believe, like just throughout COVID, they kind of got stuck and stranded kind of in the same clique of people, and they just happened to like be involved in one of the studios in Appleton here, and they just kind of formed a little thing and started doing some stuff.
Nice.
So, and then I took a couple days off, and then had last night, Tuesday night here in town, one of our local breweries hosted Quiet Hollers, band out of Louisville, Kentucky.
And where was that at?
Stone Arch Brew Pub.
We do love to support local businesses.
Yeah, always a great night there, and like Quiet Hollers it's a pretty small room down there, and Quiet Hollers are not a quiet band.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this, you gave that one time we hung out for my birthday, like, was it 2 years ago or whatever? You gave me one of their records.
Oh yeah, because I had ordered the record, and they sent me two by accident. It was during COVID, and I thought, I'll just share it out, you know.
Yeah,
I don't need to,
because that's what friends do.
That's what friends do.
Friends share vinyl, not needles.
Yeah.
One may argue they are equally addictive.
You got to have one to play the other, right?
It's a cartridge.
It's a stylus, sir.
So, what did you pick up anything there, buddy?
Yeah, I got their latest album, Forever Chemicals. The only one I did not have on vinyl. Beautiful, beautiful vinyl.
And you got it autographed?
I got it autographed and everything. I was fanboying it. I even stole the poster out of the bathroom, and I got a set list. Like, fanboy.
Yeah.
He even followed the lead singer into the bathroom. No.
You watched him pee.
That is where I met him, though, the first time.
Well,
at a past Stone Art show.
The first time I saw Jossie, like, and I somewhat interacted with him, it was in the doorway to the bathroom. It's just like, oh, that must be this guy looks awesome. I was like, don't talk to him, don't make it weird.
So you talked to him and made it
No,
weird.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
okay.
I was like, I hadn't heard him play yet or anything, so I wasn't like down that rabbit hole yet. So, but it was like the middle of the day and it was hot out and stuff, and I remember him commenting on it and he'd be like, still early and a little hot out for a rock show. So yeah, anyway, so how many, do they have a bunch of albums, or?
Oh gosh,
it's okay, you don't know the exact number.
I believe this is the fourth full length. I know that I believe it's the fourth full length that I know of anyway.
I'm sure they got some EPs and stuff too, like they often do.
Yeah, they've been around for a while there now. Actually, the drummer and bassist that were in town with Shadwick, they just celebrated their 4th anniversary as those three as the main part of that band. So I'm the drummer. I don't know exactly how long. I think he's been around pretty much since the beginning.
Drummers aren't important.
Yeah.
Steve plays the drums.
Yes, I play the drums. So quit picking on me. But no, it's a great album. I knew quite a bit of it, but I don't think I'd listened to the entire thing through. But yeah, it's a great record. It was great to hear those songs live. I hadn't seen any of these songs live ever. And then he played a couple of some new stuff that he's working on. He also does some solo stuff as well. It's Shadwick Wild. Just great songwriter.
That's a badass name.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Bit of a perfectionist, with the sound and whatever. But like, I can see it. There was a lot of similarities. Hanging out with Sam and the Scoundrels, just talking to them and kind of like the direction they're going with music, and like just the extra effort they're putting into like really, what's the word? Like just
honing in on their sound there.
Yeah, just honing in on their sound, just making stuff really precise. And you can tell, it's been, I think, 2 years now, maybe even 3 since I've seen Quiet Hollers. You can tell they're kind of working on that same thing. Like they're working on their harmonies and just working on just
details,
different arrangements and stuff, and just making their live show just like really sparkle. And it's awesome to see bands do that and just better themselves, because they're great bands just going out and hashing it out, but to like really like it just shows that kind of that maturity, so to speak.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so
I think those little details make a huge difference.
Yeah, and then those
Says the sound guy.
Those CC drums that Colin was playing.
Yeah.
This guy, I forget his name. It's Raf. It's not like, I always want to say Raphael because it's just such a common name, but it's like Raffen or something. I believe he's Swedish. But
Rockin' Raffen.
And I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name, bud. But anyway, he was playing the same brand of kit, and I was like, that's really weird. I've never seen these CC drums before. They're a custom kit out of St. Louis, I believe. And
okay.
And yeah, these two drummers. Just happen to be.
We'll have to keep our eye on CC drums, man.
Yeah, I guess they're really flipping expensive.
Okay, that's why we've never heard of them.
Yeah, exactly, because we're poor.
We are poor.
We play Tom and rock stars
That's
around
right.
here. That's our budget.
You know what? Those things last and last.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. So yeah, it was a great rock and roll weekend. Came back with a way too much vinyl and merch.
How much money did you spend on vinyl?
Well over $5. Well, it's not on vinyl. It wasn't just vinyl, it was just merch.
Okay.
And everything and tickets and all that. It was.
But that's important because you're supporting the band. You're helping them get to the next show.
Heck yeah.
If you're gonna
few more miles.
if you're gonna drop a bunch of money,
That's
doing
the
it on
place
the
to do
merch
it.
at the live show, that's the best place to do it. Unless it's one of those major, mega national acts, they don't need any more money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't need to spend $100 on a Taylor Swift sweatshirt like my kid did. I was like,
But you can get
on
all
a
the
sweatshirt?
friendship bracelets out in the parking lot for free.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I want you to know that not only does Steve help support these bands to get to the next show by buying their merch, but if you stop by his house, he's gonna cook you up some brats and burgers on the way
I'll
too.
feed you up. I even had to make salmon this time because one of the members only eats.
He was a
fish.
pescatarian.
Yeah, he's a
That's correct,
pescatarian. Yeah. So
which more on that later on this what we're discussing. But
Yeah, we're gonna do our pescatarian segment.
that's
later.
correct. Yeah, it's all about the band Fish.
Yeah.
I do own some fish.
Do you? Yes. Hippie.
Don't bring them to my house; they'll get cooked. But yeah, so I got just a crap ton of vinyl. Bunch of T-shirts. I'm like, I'm gonna need another drawer for T-shirts.
I'm sorry,
after-
I'm coming in late, but I just want to say that Fish is already baked. All right, sorry. I know. I should have just held my tongue
That
there.
was a delayed thought, Stu.
You're gonna have
How
to
many
add
cups of coffee have you had today?
Not enough.
you're gonna have to add a symbol in for that.
All right, carry on.
So yeah, support your go to shows, support your bands, traveling bands, local bands, all of it.
Well, speaking of,
gist.
I spent no money on new music since the last show, but
Did you find anything new that you're interested in?
well, I on Saturday I ran sound at the Vaudette for a triple bill metal act. Three different metal bands locally, but it was cool because they were all different from each other. So
Were they screamo metal?
there was a lot of screaming going on. Yep. Mubis was the first one. I hadn't heard them before. They seemed a little younger, but cool guys. Grim Waters, who I've seen a couple times, and Grim Waters, yeah, they're a good band, man. They do some real cool stuff musically. He will scream. I mean, I'm spending all night fighting the guys, like swallowing them, like, and like I'm trying to get, not feeding back, but like have it loud. Anyway, but they do some really cool, like intricate, very pretty stuff that's like mixed in with that music wise. And then the last band was called Crucial Moves, and they were more of like a hardcore band.
Oh, okay.
And so it's three very different
Nice.
moods, but the crowd had a lot of fun. It was
Several
a good
shades
show.
of metal.
Several shades of metal. Yep.
That'll be Stu's documentary.
So that's about it. And I was listening to something. I mean, I listen to music. I listened to Lou Reed's Rock and Roll Animal yesterday in the car, kind of start to finish.
Are you a big Lou Reed guy?
I like Lou Reed. He's very hit or miss for me, but the stuff I like, I really like.
Yeah, that's kind of my experience. I found him because someone's like, "Oh, you like David Bowie? Check out Lou Reed," and I'm like, "Oh, I love David Bowie." I'm like, this Lou Reed, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's funny because like they worked together for a period there, and
It
Bowie
sounds like
was
they
a
were
big,
always trying to copy each other too.
Well, Bowie was a big Lou Reed fan and produced some of his records, and like you can hear Bowie on like "Satellite of Love" if you know that song.
Oh, I love "Satellite of Love."
He's singing in the background. And
did you by any chance watch that? Sorry, kind of a subject.
No, go
here.
ahead. Yeah.
I posted a best of the Top of Pops. It was like a British TV show that ran from I want to say it was the 60s to like 2006. So like think of it.
I didn't know it ran that long.
Yeah, it definitely was 2006. I don't remember what year it started on, but
Yeah.
I posted a best of and I actually sat and watched through it, and I learned about a bunch of stuff that I didn't know about. I saw some kind of cool bands like you ever heard of Hawkwind?
Oh, I'm fucking big Hawkwind fan over here.
I was just like I was listening.
Random.
Oh yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Oh really?
No,
I got like 10 of their albums here.
We'll tell you why. You're gonna realize why they're an important band here in a sec. But I was just like, oh, these guys are awesome. And then I was like doing some research, and I'm like, oh, this was freaking one of Lemmy from Motorhead's bands.
Really?
Yeah. He was in Hawkwind. He was the bass player before moving on. In fact, they wrote the song "Motorhead" in Hawkwind right before he left and formed Motorhead.
Crazy.
But
And never heard any of that info.
Hawkwind's cool, man. They're like when they're real trippy, space rock. They always sort of remind me a little bit of like the way the Stooges would jam out on stuff. But if the Stooges were like more proggy maybe, because there's gonna be like there's actually Stooges had saxophone on Funhouse, but it's very different. But saxophone and lots of space pew pew noises, and they had the I think there were two different resident poets in the band at various times, and one of them was the science fiction fantasy author Michael Moorcock, if you've ever heard of him. And Michael Moorcock wrote the Elric saga series, among other stuff, but that's what I know him for. And so they do these songs, and like he's like just reading like a poem, but it's like it's trippy stuff. In case of sonic attack, do not be alarmed. Use your wheels. It is what they are for.
Oh yeah, there was
Cease copulating immediately. I don't know.
There's a bunch of weird.
It's fun stuff, man.
There's like weird bands.
Post-sex nachos.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of weird bands on there too, and I was like only the best of, but I'm like I need to do like a bigger dive on the Top of Pops and stuff like that. It was like there were psychedelic bands, like they had a band called Mud. I'm like, man, I need to check them out. I think they're
I don't know them.
They're like they are glam rock, and,
Yeah?
they were freaking awesome when I was watching them. And then Shocking Blue, I was not. They were another band that was on there. I was like, these guys are great. They showed Blur at one point, and the funny, like if you remember the last episode, I was talking about Blur and Oasis's feud.
Oh yeah.
The bassist from Blur was wearing an Oasis shirt during their performance on there, and I was like, that was awesome. And another random thought too. I guess I think it was the BBC released a podcast basically talking about the history of the rise and fall of Britpop. So like Blur,
Cool.
Oasis, and all that stuff. I'm like, I gotta check that out.
There was another British music show that ran for a long time that was called the Old Grey Whistle Test. Have you ever come across that?
No.
And it's a similar thing. They would have bands on there and interview. But I've seen some cool old footage that was from that show. I think I like rented a DVD once that had a best of.
I think what I originally found is there's a Wham documentary on Netflix I was starting to watch.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then they talked about the Top of Pops. I'm like, I've never heard of them.
Okay.
And about how that was like a big moment for them. Like Queen and everyone played on that as well. So it was like new bands, but it was also very established bands. And I guess they just like that was the start of them like doing really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like playing on American Bandstand or.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. And it was just really super interesting. And then I didn't finish watching it, but apparently, like before Wham got really big, they were considered to be like, I don't know how to put it, the morals and heart and soul of like funk music. Like they were like very like had like political lyrics and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was like before they got big. Like that was how they were billing them as, and I'm like, that's really interesting. Like they had like a lot of social commentary on their very early, I guess like disco funk tracks is kind of like what they were doing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
do we think they sold out then?
well, I mean, you got to sell out to sell out.
Yeah, that's right.
That is true.
So, Kiss has taught me anything. So,
I remember seeing a bit with Jason Newsted from the bass player Metallica. And he's like, yeah, kids come up and they're like, you guys sold out. And he's like, yeah, we do sell out every night, every arena. I was like, you go, man.
I don't blame them whatsoever. So I did pick up a couple things. And then one of them specifically we're going to talk about last. I kind of realized, I had gotten some expensive records as of late. One of which I actually got lucky on was Fall Out Boy's Infinity on High. I had mentioned previously that was one of my big wants. I got lucky and found this hour on Amazon where they were getting a restock of them. So I paid straight up retail price and I got that album on black, not the special blue one that came out not that long ago. I will say this though, every copy of that album that I've ever seen is generally pressed like absolute fucking shit.
Really?
Yeah. So the first one I had gotten when I first started getting a record collection had a big old scuff, lots of hairline scratches on it. This one I got, it had a lot of hairline scratches on it. No big scuffs, but there were dimpling in it and stuff like that. I mean, it plays fine, but the point is clearly this plant does not
give a shit.
No, they don't let their records cure, and they don't take the time to probably clean the machines. There's probably crap.
Well, do you know what plant this is? I mean,
I don't know.
Call them out.
I was like, I should do some research on where that was pressed and stuff for that exact reason.
All right, well, Fall Out Boy, we're disappointed.
We're calling you out, Fall Out Boy.
Call Out Boy.
Call Out Boy. That's what we're gonna call that segment. Steve had pointed out this. What was that site you set me up with?
Sound of Vinyl.
Sound of Vinyl. So for whatever reason, I got on there and it was giving me the option to buy a bunch of records for free. They're literally brand new records listed as 0, but I can only add certain ones to my cart at times. Then it would glitch out. So I got the only one that I really wanted that was on there was the Rolling Stones Goat's Head Soup. Which, if you remember, the original cover is some weird one with Mick with like satin over his face or something like that.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. This has got I guess from what I understood, an alternate cover that was one of the original pitched concepts. It's a stuffed goat head in a big container of soup, and I was like, that's cool.
It's pretty literal.
Yeah. I'm like, that's cool looking. I want that one. In the mail, I got 2 Butch Walker EPs. I got Butch Walker Peach Battle, and then Butch Walker End of the World. Was it One More Time Battle versus the War? One's a 10-inch, one's a full size EP. I haven't listened to either of them yet because I just put the one on the table and it's a little warped so I got to take it through the vinyl flat. I got Maroon 5's and Won't Be Soon Before Long. They're kind of a cheesy band, but I love that album.
It won't be soon before long.
You think about that.
That's interesting.
It's deep. It's real deep. And then I kind of realized
it's like a real deep red.
Right. And then I kind of realized I hadn't really kind of lost my roots a little bit and hadn't been giving the love to the cheaper records.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I was at Goodwill and I found.
Did I inspire you last week? With my cheap record haul.
Your cheapness inspired me, Stu. I picked up Hank Williams Jr.'s 1985 release 5-0. Apparently, he had 3 big singles off of it. I listened to it. It's pretty dang good. So
nice.
I really like that. And then just yesterday, I got 2 albums. I got Head East's Flat as a Pancake, which I had always known that Head East was a good classic rock band, but I hadn't really ever listened to it.
They've got one song they play on there. I can't even think of what it is right now. There's one song you hear a lot.
I think it's Never Been Any Reason. That's
Can you sing me a few bars?
No.
Okay. All right.
Please no.
Then the other one.
If you know he's got no rhythm, his voice is even worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other cheap one I got was Moody Blues In the Search of the Lost Chord.
Okay.
Awesome.
So both those guys were cheaper side. And then, last but not least, I got a record in the mail that I had been waiting for.
Oh, I know what this one is.
It's the Marvelous Three's Hey album.
Oh.
on silver because I was a boy who pre-ordered it early. So
I love that for you, James.
Yes. So I got one of the 500 copies that were released.
Oh, congratulations.
So I was pretty excited about
You're
that.
in the club.
Yeah. And then we're going to go see them in concert.
Hell yeah, that's going to be good.
So they announced a show, and they're like, oh, we're just going to do the one show in Atlanta. Oh, that sold out real quick, so we're going to do another one. Oh, that one sold out real quick, too, so we're going to do another one. But we're not going to tour. And then they're like, hey, guess what, guys? We're going to do one show in Chicago. And James is like, well, that's probably going to be the only time I'm ever going to get to see them.
Yeah.
So Steve and I, and probably Stu, depending on his availability, we're going to go see them in Chicago, which is a couple hours away from us. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Field trip.
Yeah. Group activity. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
The Marvelous C sings
awesome.
The Marvelous 3.
You know, there's something awesome about going to see somebody's favorite band with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to be clear, if you do come with us and you say anything bad about them, we're leaving you in Chicago.
Right, yeah.
even if you drive.
In one of the bad parts of Chicago.
Yes. Even if you drive.
Anywhere in Chicago.
Oh.
Oh,
snap.
Chick, chick, burn.
All right. Now that true to form, we have talked for a very long time.
I was just thinking, is that this is still the cold open, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have one more thing I want to throw in.
Sure.
This week is one of my favorite bands. Their first LP, band Me Like Bees. I believe it's their first full-length record that they put out called The Ides. It's their 10th anniversary of that out, and they just released a 10th anniversary vinyl double LP. They're going to put some special stuff on it. The entirety of the album. It's never been pressed on vinyl before, so I'm ecstatic about this release.
Can you get us some autograph copies?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, they're going to be Bees are going to be in town for Mile here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Stoked about that. They haven't been at Mile for a couple years now, three maybe even. And then they're also going to be back in November. They're going to be playing a set at one of the local establishments, and they're also going to be playing my buddy's living room. So, that's looking forward to November.
Well,
Hopefully
like what
you're
I'm
not
hearing
in Florida or wherever the heck you're going to be.
Well, that's where I would be if I'm.
Yeah.
We'll
I'm
see.
not sure what part of November. Probably not the third week.
So I just want to say, the album is the Ides, and the Ides of March is the 15th of March. Oh. They're doing this on the 10th year. I think they should have waited 5 more years to put it out on vinyl, so it would be on the Ides.
Well,
That's
maybe,
it. We got to cancel
that'll
it.
be the 15th anniversary.
Yeah.
I don't care what anniversary it is. I'm just excited for it to be on vinyl because they've released their last couple of records.
Right.
On vinyl.
I mean, World's probably going to be done in 5 years anyway.
Yeah,
so
right?
you got to listen to that shit now.
Exactly.
All right, let's formally start the show.
So what's in the news, James?
Not much, my good man. Of course, first we got to say you're listening to your favorite podcast in the world, Just One More Record. And in case you're new to the show, make sure you follow us on Facebook. Check us out on the old Instagram. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you hate musically. We just want to hear from somebody. And then, of course, I am James Thorne. I got with me
Steve Main.
And then, of course, the sexiest guy in the room.
That's so sweet.
Hey, Bill.
I'm Stu.
Good old Stu. So, as Steve just mentioned here a second ago, we do got some news for you. So, first up, I guess Tupac Shakur's self-designed diamond ring is to be auctioned. The reason why this ring, I guess, is so important, he wore it his last public appearance, and it's going to be, it was about 4 days before his death. And then it's going to be auctioned at Sotheby's. Did you guys ever seen how they spell Sotheby's? Mm-mm. It's Sothbys. And that, to me, that's like Sotheby's.
Oh, yeah.
Sotheby's, yeah.
Yeah, and so if you work for that auction company, I'm sorry. It's going to be auctioned between July 18th and the 25th. If you are interested and you have a $200,000 to $300,000 that you want to spend on that diamond ring.
Do that up. Have you ever noticed actually that like the British, like these words they'll like have an entire word in the middle of a word that you don't even pronounce?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. Like,
That's the Queen's English, sir.
Yeah. well, they're like hiding silent words inside of words. So
Yes.
I think it's crazy. Like, have you ever, like Leicester Square? It's like spelled like Hester, but it's Leicester. Yeah. There's just don't say the middle words for letters for some reason.
Like just the there's a word for it. I can't think of it. But just the muscle memory in their, like the physicality of their language is just lazy, and that's why they just skip over half of the spelling.
That's how they lost the colonies.
That's how they lost the colonies.
Well, I've heard, and now granted, yeah, America. I guess when people talk about like doing a British accent, like the professional voice people, they say like exactly what you're saying. They're like, it's a little bit of a lazier way to speak. Mm-hmm. Apparently, when we talk, it's more from the front of our mouth, whereas when they talk, it's more like in the back. So you kind of, I don't know. If you are a British voice coach, please let us know.
And then we'll do the next episode in fake British accents.
The entire episode.
And they're going to love that.
It'll be terrible. So follow up.
I'm going to be drunk for that one.
Steve's will sound Irish.
Yeah.
It's possibly a little Scottish every now and again.
Right, and we'll probably be eating Lucky Charms. So a little follow-up to that previous Beatles story. July 7th of 2023, Ringo was having his annual Peace and Love birthday celebration, and I got a quote from him talking about the new Beatles
directly
track.
from him. You did?
Yeah.
How'd you
just for me. So, well, Ringo's a huge fan of ours.
Oh, nice.
All right, he says,
"What's up, Ringo?"
It's not down to AI, said Starr. It's not like we are pretending anything. That is actually John's voice, Paul's voice, and bass playing, George on rhythm guitar, and me on drums. The two things that are new is Paul's bass and me on drums. I really worked at it just a month ago here, and it works. It's a beautiful song. For all the madness going around the world, it is still a beautiful track, and it's our last track.
Well, that makes me very happy. I did read Paul giving some clip. We had our long old man discussion about AI.
Get off our lawn.
Of it. Yeah. And like 2 days later, I read a clarification by Paul that was like, hey, I think people are getting the wrong idea about how this AI is being used. Like,
well, the power of our conversation is just huge. Great.
Clearly, Paul heard us.
Yeah.
Because Paul's a fan, too.
All the remaining Beatles love us.
Yes, even the dead ones.
Yeah.
Apparently, George Thickener died. Do you know who that is, Stu?
I do not. Educate me, James.
He is one of the founding members of Journey.
Oh, no, did not.
Yeah, 1946 to July 5th of 2023. He was 76 years old.
So he was then not you said a founding member, but did he play on?
I had a hard time following the timeline of it.
Okay.
I do believe he left sometime in the 70s, if memory serves me correctly. I don't know exactly when. He was not in the band when they became hugely famous.
I can't remember if we were talking about this, but my understanding is that Journey, and I'm not a huge fan, so I don't know.
So please tell me about the journey of Journey.
The journey of Journey was that they were much more of like a progressive band or something in the early years. And the first couple albums are quite different from the hits that we know.
I think they didn't really get popular. It was until the 80s, right?
No, I think it was still the 70s when they started. I think, but yeah.
I'm not a huge Journey guy.
I like the hits.
To me, they're just like Rush. Ooh, dagger to the heart,
dude.
Well, nobody's getting up and bumming rushing yet. Yeah. I'm waiting.
Because I know this guy likes Kiss.
So if you hear the mics tip over.
Yeah.
So apparently Fall Out Boy released a cover of Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. They both updated lyrically and musically. Supposedly Billy Joel's a fan.
So is Steve's daughter Sid, who played us that track on her phone the other day.
I didn't hear it yet. I was planning on doing it, but the day got away from me yesterday. What'd you guys think?
It's all right.
I mean, it was a little like, okay, you did that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I didn't love it.
I would love to hear Billy Joel do some covers of theirs now.
Yeah.
I mean, I would too, actually.
I think that would be great.
Are you a Billy Joel fan?
Yeah, no, I like Billy Joel.
Yeah.
I a couple months ago I was listening to like a playlist. I'm like, this is around when Walmart was like releasing a whole bunch of represses and stuff like that. I'm like, it's like I didn't really think I knew a lot, but I put on like one of the playlists of his greatest. I'm like, I actually knew a lot.
Like, you know all the songs. Yeah,
I knew a lot, and I'm like, I like Billy Joel.
You can thank WAPL for that.
I will say, one of the big things about him is like I definitely like his older stuff, like when he was first getting started. And I do remember watching like a thing about him, and when he was coming up, he always insisted on keeping the people he started with him. So like his friends that he had in bands with him and stuff, and he'd be like, as he's getting popular and stuff, he's like, no, they're coming with me or I'm not doing this.
Nice.
That is cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So
stand-up guy, Billy Joel.
Yeah.
He had. I'm getting off on a tangent.
That's
now.
fine.
He was in a band that I've only heard. This is before the Billy Joel we know, but he was actually in like a 2-piece like weird prog band called Attila.
Oh, it all goes back to prog rock.
It always does. And it was him, and I want to say it was Daryl Hall. It was
We
one
should
of the
definitely
Hall &
look
Oates
into-
guys. Like, and I've
Yeah.
heard this once. And my friend Chris Klepak, shout out Stereo Sons. He played it for me at one time, and it was. Man, I think it was it was either Hall or Oates. I think.
You know, I am never going to be unapologetic about this. I love Hall & Oates.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
We're going to have to check that.
I don't.
Going to have to check that out. So, my last news story I got is kind of a longer one. As we all know, we lost Aretha Franklin in 2018, August to be specific. Apparently, there had been kind of a large little battle going on about her estate. Just recently, the jury that was involved in this legal battle between her 4 sons, between 3 of the 4 sons, had ruled that there was a will that was found, and they ruled that it is going to be valid. So her family, up until these were found, believed that she did not leave a will of any kind, and that the money and her estate and music rights and blah 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 were all going to be split equally between her 4 sons. But I guess in May of 2019 they found 2 handwritten documents. Neither were executed via a lawyer, as you traditionally would do, especially if you're someone on her level.
Yeah.
One was found in a locked cabinet in her home in Detroit, and then not Detroit, in Michigan. I don't know exactly where. And then the other one was that one was dated from 2010, and then they found one from 2014 that was wedged under a sofa cushion.
I read that. I was about to ask if you saw where it was from, where they found it, and
yeah. So there were some differences. The 2010 one stipulated that her son, and I'm going to butcher this name in particular, Kekaf, and Edward would have to take business classes to be able to benefit from her estate. The 2014 one did not. My understanding is the 2010 one was a lot more detailed. The 2014 one said the music royalties and bank funds would be split evenly between 3 of the 4 sons, not including Clarence. The youngest one, Kekaf, would get her mansion in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Apparently, Clarence, who is her eldest son, suffers from some sort of mental illness, and they're in a pre-trial dispute. The brothers all kind of agreed, because Clarence was not involved in any of this, that they would give him a certain percentage, and it was an undisclosed amount. So props to them for taking care of their brother, who probably has some issues. And I guess Aretha's brother was involved in some way. One of the brothers was arguing with the brother, that the 2014 one wasn't detailed enough, and that they basically should go with the 2010 one. So he clearly lost out. I read some statements by everybody involved. They were all super respectful to each other, and nobody was talking crap or anything like that. So
you would want to think that Aretha's children learned respect.
Yeah.
one would think. one would think.
Can you imagine, like, sometimes you dig through the sofa cushions for change, and you're like stoked when you find a quarter, and then this time you find like $250,000 on paper for you. Like that's
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, like if you think
it's
about,
probably more than $250,000.
I'm sure, especially royalties long term.
That's for clearance.
My question would be is like, are these legit or did one of the brothers fake it? Like that kind of thing. So I would be like, we need to get this vetted by like a handwriting person and stuff. I'm sure they did all that stuff, but
I would imagine, especially the brother who's losing out probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, maybe it was a good thing too, like for the brother that's got personal problems, like maybe him getting an equal share, might have been detrimental to him. Yeah. Like maybe he would have did dumb stuff with it that would have been harmful for him. Mm-hmm. So maybe in some cases, this is probably the better way for things to play out. So
let's hope so.
Yeah, let's be optimistic.
Yeah.
So
also, one more RIP shout out, Rick Froberg. From Drive Like Jehu and the Hot Snakes. Their lead singer passed away this last week as well. So,
do you know how old he was?
I do
roughly?
not. I'd say probably early 50s, like pretty young man.
Yeah, there's been a lot of musicians dying at a young age as of late, and that's really unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was just a heck of a musician, heck of a songwriter.
Yeah, I know you're a pretty big fan of.
Yeah, I love Drive Like Jehu and the Hot Snakes. They're I don't even know what to. They're
just
kind of their own.
Yeah,
kind of thing in the punk genre, like their own kind of.
Yeah, I gotta make a list of some of these bands you talk about. There's so many I don't know.
I actually saw the other day I think just yesterday, an article in the Guardian about Blossom Dearie, who you had mentioned on the last show, getting that record. So I listened to a little bit of her after reading that article. So
what'd you think?
Oh, I thought it was good. It was funny the way they described her, although she didn't sound like her. It made me think of Julie London, if you know who that is. But she was another jazz.
I've heard the name.
Another jazz singer who, she said always, she's like, I have this tiny little voice, but she made a lot of it, especially by singing very close to the microphone and getting intimate. And when they were talking about Blossom's voice, how it was like almost childlike, compared to other jazz singers, Ella Fitzgerald or Sarah Vaughan, who have very bold and stylized, very, very good voices, and hers was in some ways almost amateurish by comparison, but had a lot of charm to it. Yeah, and she was a heck of a piano player.
I don't think it was childish in my mind for Blossom. I just think it was sweet and genuine, and that was rare.
Yeah,
rare for that kind of music.
Yeah,
especially with her having learned at a young age. So
I want to throw in a couple of loose ends from last episode. The first was, I have to admit, I erroneously called Dick Smothers the Yo-Yo Man, when in fact it was his brother Tommy Smothers was the Yo-Yo Man.
Oh.
We would like to formally apologize to all Smothers Brothers fans.
Absolutely. I felt like a Tommy myself, actually, when I listened back, because I just heard myself when I was doing the production. I was like, it wasn't Dick, was it? And I had to look it up. And I was like, got this out. That was true. And then when we were talking about the hi-fi Japanese hi-fi bars.
Kisas or whatever they're called?
Yeah, the Kisas, something like that. And I mentioned there was this movie in my head, a 60s Japanese movie in which I thought there was maybe one of those bars in it. I could be wrong about that, but the movie was called The Warped Ones, if anyone is interested. I think that maybe qualifies as Japanese New Wave. I'm not entirely sure, but check that out. So, all right.
Put that in your pipe.
Yeah, put that in your
smoke it right up.
All right, so I did a little bit of a preparation on a segment. So when I was starting to do this, my intention was to kind of go over a list of some of the most controversial album covers in history. And I was planning on it being kind of an all-encompassing list. However, when I did these two that I did, I saw that there was a stark contrast in the response and kind of pivoted and shifted direction on that. So as we go through this, guys, I want to really hear your thoughts on, one, were these albums really all that controversial? Did we overreact? And then I want to know your thoughts on the difference in the responses to these two album covers. So the first one, probably, my mind, one of the more, the Beatles, the Butcher cover. Mm-hmm. So, The album was called Yesterday and Today. So if you are a Beatles fan, you already probably know this, but the Beatles, when they released albums in the US, they typically had completely different mixes, different covers. Sometimes the songs were switched between different albums because I don't know, maybe they thought the Beatles weren't going to be as appetizing in America in these forms. Current world, I don't think they press these albums anymore, and they straight release the British albums. So this album was released June of 1966. This was their 9th album issued on Capitol Records. Having spent the first half of their career having their image heavily structured for mass appeal, the Beatles kind of took a sharp turn with this album when it came out. This was the same year, just a few months apart, when John Lennon made his "Bigger Than Jesus" quote that kind of set everybody off. This was the Jesus quote was probably a few months before that. The photograph was taken by a man, and it was his concept, called Robert I think it's Whittaker. You know, the British, like we said earlier, the British people pronounce things interesting.
Right. It's probably like Robert Witt. It's just
Probably.
Or Witter.
The band had met him in 1964 in Australia, and he had kind of become their kind of go-to photographer. They trusted him pretty heavily. When he would put forth ideas, they were really open to them because they just trusted the guy. And he actually had gone on tour during the Beatlemania tour with them. So he kind of saw everything that was going on with them. So he, in the studio of March 25th of 1966, he proposed a whole mess of ideas. As the story goes, Lennon was bored with their Fab Four in a row standard pose and liked the idea of pushing some boundaries. Keeping that in mind, he planned on a 3-piece series of photos. He claimed it would have made more sense had we seen all of the photos. And then later on, the band would kind of insist that this particular album cover was a comment on the Vietnam War. So what was wrong with it? So the cover features the band dressed in white butcher's coats, all really smiley and happy. And there are numerous dismembered baby dolls and pieces of raw meat all over the place. I'm sure you guys have both seen the cover, right?
Yeah. I mean, already this is like an Alice Cooper kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
We don't expect this from the Beatles, but
Yeah, we don't expect our good, sweet Beatles boys to be doing that. So what happened with the reception? So Capitol printed approximately 750,000 copies. The album, with about 60,000 of them, were sent out to radio stations and media outlets. The reaction was immediate. Many retailers were refusing to stock it. In an impressive response time for the time, keeping in mind, this is 1966, on June 10th, just a few months later, Capitol began what they called Operation Retrieve, recalling all the copies and offering of the offending image and all the promotional posters associated with it. At the time, this cost them $250,000. So just in response, that by today's standards, that would be about $2.25 million. That is a lot. That's completely wiped out the band's original, the profit off the album initially. So, and then of course this added, for people like us, collectability to the album. Ultimately, this would lead to other controversies in other countries surrounding this image. In Britain, they used it for like a promotional poster. I want to say, if I remember correctly, Japan had some images with it as well. Some of the other Asian countries. So I did do some research on prices currently for this. A sealed copy of this album in first state, meaning like one that got shipped out, nothing was altered on it, and it was sealed. One sold for $75,000 in 2015. A sealed mono copy goes for about $30,000 currently. A sealed second state mono copy. So this is like one where they, I believe, if I'm understanding this correctly, they got it back. They replaced the cover with a sticker, because that's generally what it is like they put a big full face picture over it. It's a picture of them with like steamer trunks is the other cover. People would go on to try to peel that off later. So a lot of times, like if you find this album, the cover is all jacked up because they peeled it off.
Right.
Huh.
Peeled the sticker off. So that one will go for about $5,000 to $7,000. A second state opened mono copy will fetch between $500 and $4,000, and a second state opened stereo copy is about $1,000 to $5,000. So Eroding Winds had one not that long ago, and I saw it and I'm like, hey, that was really cool to see, but I'm like, I've never had an interest in owning this album.
So you did not buy it?
I did not buy it.
Okay.
And my understanding, it was a pretty jacked up copy, but it still went for a couple $100.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, what was the vinyl? Was the vinyl in good shape? That's all that really matters.
I want to say it was like $200-$300, something like that. So I can't imagine it was stellar. It was probably like a VG or a G plus kind of a situation.
Well, I mean, was the cover in good shape? Could you see the picture?
I did see the picture of it. It was
it like one where they'd ripped off the sticker?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, like if I was at like a place and they were selling one of those dirt cheap because I didn't know what they had, oh hell yeah, I'd buy that.
Yeah,
well, sure,
but I would not fight someone or get jacked up about that cover.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think that was a good response? Like, do you think it was warranted? Do you think it was a little ridiculous? That
What year was this again?
66.
66. Gosh, by then.
So this is around the Vietnam War era.
People, even if you're talking dull parts, people have a very visceral response to the idea of chopped up babies.
Yeah.
Right. So artistically, like people are gonna like it provoked a response, which is what they wanted. Right. I think that from Capitol's point of view, the Beatles are the biggest moneymaker they've ever had. Mm-hmm. And if like they're getting that much outrage over it, they're thinking our cash cow is about to like roll over and dry up.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I think any other band back then, they would not have recalled that.
I think less likely. Yeah.
Or they would have recalled it, but they would have probably been done with the band. Like, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
This would have killed anybody else's career at the time. I
mean, maybe, or maybe it would, But I think a big part is that it was the Beatles, and it was that's such a departure from their image and what.
And they're smiling on the cover too.
Yeah,
like they're all very happy.
Yeah, it's obviously a joyful moment in just the artful process of creating something.
But it's interesting because they went on to push boundaries and definitely
they're
part of the counterculture, but
this is before they hit the counterculture. Truly, this was still on the tail end of their clean, pretty image.
Yeah.
Because I want to say it was like 60, like probably like not that long after that's when we start seeing stuff like Rubber Soul where their hair's.
Mm-hmm. I think Rubber Soul is kind of the turning point for them.
Yeah,
from the original stuff, because I mean, wasn't their first stuff like 64 or something like that?
Right, that's like the clean, like
I want to hold your hand, yeah,
yeah.
So it's a portent of things to come,
yeah, that kind of stuff. So the next album, kind of another stark contrast, is the Blind Faith's self-titled album, Blind Faith. This is their only studio album. This is one of the supergroups with Eric Clapton. Featuring other members from Cream and Traffic, originally released in 1969 on Polydor in Europe and the UK, and then Atco in the US. This album would go on to be certified platinum by the RIAA, and the original cover concept was by a man named Bob Seidman. So what was so bad about this? So we see a topless 11-year-old girl, it's another one of those ones that's hard to say, Mariora Gostin, holding a silver plane like a model aircraft. So as the story goes, a friend and flatmate of Eric Clapton, that's this gentleman that we're talking about, I have a quote from him. I could not get my hands on the image until out of the mist the concept began to emerge. To symbolize the achievement of human creativity and its expression through the technology, spaceship was the material object. To carry this new spare into the universe, innocence would be the ideal bearer. A girl as young as Shakespeare's Juliet. The spaceship would be the fruit of the tree of knowledge, and the girl the fruit of the tree of life. The spaceship would be made by Mick Milligan, a jeweler at the Royal College of Art. The girl was another matter. If she were too old, it would be cheesecake. Too young, and it would be nothing. The beginning of the transition of girl to woman. This was what I was after. The temporal point. The singular flare of radiant innocence. Where is that girl? So let's stop for a second here and kind of unpack that. What did you guys get out of that quote?
A lot. It's kind of, I don't know, I had parts of it where I was like, wow, this guy sounds like a complete nut job. And then other parts of like, oh, okay, I kind of see where he's going with this.
I mean, I to me, honestly, it reads like a guy who had an artistic vision for what he wanted.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. So, I mean, whether or not that vision,
Yeah. So, I mean, I got basically like what I got out of this one part where he's talking about cheesecake. Like, he doesn't want it to be like a sexy, cheesy.
Yeah, that'd be like softcore porn.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he doesn't want. All right. So, going on with this some more. Basically what he explained that he did was he went on his own and approached a girl who was reported to be 14 years old on the London Underground, which I took to be the subway. He asked her to model for the cover. He would follow her home and he would eventually meet her parents. She proved to be too old for the effect that he wanted. So I don't know what that means. Like,
it probably means her breasts were too big.
Oh, probably. That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
So he approached her younger sister, who we were discussing earlier. She would later report that she was coerced into posing by her sister. She quoted her sister as saying, "They'll give you a young horse. Do it." So
Man.
She did not get a horse. She was paid with 40 pounds.
Okay.
Or whatever, British money. I don't know British money.
It's pounds.
Should be noted.
Pounds of what, James?
Yeah.
Pounds
40 pounds of cocaine.
Well, that would have been a good deal.
Yeah.
She noted Seidman would previously, or this was apparently he previously worked with Janis Joplin and the Grateful Dead. The reception for this album cover wasn't great. The plane was seen as phallic, and the version in the U.S. was released with an alternate cover. My understanding, the cover that they used in the U.S. was like a poster from like a concert.
Huh, that's funny. I actually haven't seen that cover. I've only seen the one that we're talking about.
Yeah, when they repressed it, they repressed it with the original cover.
Okay.
And the U.S. one, I have seen pictures of it. It's not a very high quality. It literally looks like someone Xeroxed a flyer.
Oh, okay.
And then it says like Blind Faith on the bottom and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So my question for you is, well, one, do you think that this cover's in poor taste?
I guess knowing some of the background and like hearing like what this vision for like it, he may sound a little eccentric, but he didn't like read to me with that one quote that he seems like he's like any kind of a pervert, like like it didn't seem like he was like out there for the goal of using this little girl as a thing. It was just like other than just like an expression of art.
And we have to keep in
idea.
mind this is the UK and where they're a little more open sexually.
Yeah,
than we
Europe
are.
is, yeah.
I also
totally.
say it's in 1969, so this is the year of Woodstock, right? And like
The
if
sexual revolution.
I mean, if you
and-
ever seen like the movie Woodstock, you've got families like dancing naked, right? So there's this very like return to the garden, return to nature attitude. Now, whether or not you think that album cover is appropriate, I will say this: like hearing what he's saying he wanted, and then when you actually like that album cover, like it's not like it's kind of a limp album cover to me, actually. Like she's just sort of holding this plane. Like it's not.
Steve, have you ever seen the cover?
I have not.
It's
no.
it's like it's not you like you look
pop
at
your
it.
Spotify up.
It's not like you look at it and you're like,
Blind-
whoa, like I
blind
see.
faith.
Like I don't see what he's discussing, like what he says he wants out of it. Like to me, it just sort of looks like this topless girl holding an airplane. Like I don't get the the space age travel and like the innocence of the young girl. Like it doesn't.
I think
to
part
me,
of
it
that's the
doesn't
background
convey.
behind the photo.
But
like
it doesn't. The photo doesn't convey. The photo doesn't seem very artful to me. I guess is maybe.
Right.
Like it never did. Like even before knowing this, I was like, oh okay. Like yeah.
So when I do own this album,
Okay.
and I bought it at the exclusive company. I bought it early on in my collecting, and I was like blind faith. Like the album cover drew my attention enough where I was like, "What is this?" And I looked it up, and they're like, "Oh, it's an Eric Clapton band." And I'm like, so I left and I listened to it, and then I later would come back and buy it because I do really like Eric Clapton overall.
Isn't Steve Winwood's on that album too? Is he in that band?
I think so. I
Okay.
couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, I thought it was an odd cover. Like, now granted, like Nirvana's Nevermind,
I was gonna bring that up. Like,
right?
Like,
So
let's
there's a big
compare, 'cause
stink.
we talked
There's a
about
big stink about that, and that guy sued, as an adult, claiming it was child pornography and stuff. Now, granted, he's a babe. He's a baby in the photo.
it. Yeah.
And this, we're talking about like a prepubescent girl. Like she's old enough to talk, communicate, and things like that. And I think nowadays this album never would have got made.
I don't think it would either. I
No,
don't think at all.
I think like Eric Clapton would
I
have got
think
freaking canceled nowadays.
There's definitely like
Did you find
much
it?
more
Yeah,
of an
finally,
argument that that would be considered child pornography as compared to like the Nirvana cover, which like it seems like that's a baby picture.
Baby and nudity is completely different.
This,
than
you know,
that.
What do you think now that you see it for the first time?
Well, I totally agree with Stu. It is kind of just flat, like
Like the-
it's
yeah,
just
like artistically,
she's like
yeah.
expressionless, and like it's just there's not a lot of life to it.
Yeah.
And like the background is kind of weird. It's like it just
the background's really odd.
Yeah, it's just like I don't think he got to the space he was going for artistically. Personally.
Which makes you wonder if like it really was just about like let's just have this like
Yeah.
young topless girl
I love
on the
little
cover.
boobies.
Yeah,
But
like,
when he like talking about following that one girl home,
Yeah,
that's like
that's
super
creepy now.
pedo
Yep.
vibes.
Well-
and then he's like, "You're too old for this."
I mean,
well, I would say there is a long history. It still continues of like directors, etc. And sometimes it is totally skeezy. So I'm not like skeezing anybody, but like I saw this movie recently called Skate Kitchen. It's about this all female skate crew, like skateboarding, and the way they got started was the woman who directs the movie heard these two girls talking on the subway in New York. And like basically approached me and was like, "Hey, I'm a movie director, and like, I think I want to do something with you guys in it, right?"
Okay.
So this stuff happens actually all the time in the entertainment industry. Like, now, is it appropriate for this guy to, walk a 14-year-old home? And I mean, he at least went home and talked to her parents.
yeah, like that. Yeah, so like that. It's like
It wasn't like, "Hey, little girl, want to make a movie?"
yeah,
It's totally
but-
gonna be artful when I take a photo of your child topless.
Yeah.
Oh, she's too old. Her boobies are too big.
Yeah,
How about this little one
Well,
over
it's
here?
interesting. Parents consented to both, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure he probably sold
do
it
we
well.
have anything? Yeah. He right. He probably sold it with the same line he gave that you read. And
So-
it made it sound like it was going to be this amazing photograph.
So I'm gonna be conflicting here on my personal views on the matter. Talking about that Nirvana, I own both these albums. Talking about that Nirvana album,
you beat me to the punch.
that Nirvana album, like I was like, yeah, it's a baby. That guy's being ridiculous. He's got a Nirvana tattoo. Like he's an idiot. This one, like when I heard this backstory of it, I honestly was a little creeped out by it.
Oh no, I don't think you're wrong to be, especially when you hear the girl being like, "Yeah, I was kind of coherent." Like she's an 11-year-old girl, and he's like, "I was told I was going to get a pony, and I got
Yeah.
no pony," and like, you know.
This is like an age where like girls nowadays do get sexualized, like they do get groomed. Bad stuff happens.
I mean, it happened back then too.
It did.
So,
we just
yeah.
probably didn't hear
Yeah,
it.
you probably just told us a story about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go get rid of the album, but like if I were given the option,
You're not going to display it on your Now Playing.
No. But if I were given the option to swap it out for a U.S. copy with the alternate cover, I probably would, because I don't like the background that I heard about this album, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't blame Clapton. I'm, not going to be like, let's burn the records, and stuff like that. But hearing that story, it creeps me out a little bit.
That's understandable.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I think you're totally right. Like, that would not fly these days at all. Yeah.
So if
and I'm not like saying I'm angry about it either. Like I'm like appropriately.
I'm not like saying let's cancel Clapton.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows he gets himself in enough trouble these days.
Does he?
Oh, he's been very anti-vax and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he's gotten a lot of negative attention in the last couple of years. And then like suing the wife of someone who sold a bootleg online. Yeah, he's just gone down this whole rabbit hole as the last couple years. So anyway, that is all I have prepped for our episode today. So Steve's got us some very exciting things. So I'm going to turn the reins over to him to let him tell you about this stuff.
Yeah, I was able to sit down with Sam Burchfield after his shows this weekend, and we got a little interview with Sam, talking about some pretty fun stuff, talking about some future endeavors and some past stuff, and just getting to know Sam. Also, after that, I'm going to be taking a look at his latest record, Scoundrel, just released here about 6 months ago, I believe. I'll take an in-depth look at that with In the Sleeve with Steve. So, well, we're here with Mr. Sam Burchfield, coming up all the way from Georgia. We're sitting here at the Havarti Hotel. Mr. Stu is running some sound for us here. Got a nice little interview planned. So, first off, Sam, welcome back to Wisconsin, my friend. It's good to see you. It's been about a year.
Yeah, it's super good to be back. We love it here.
How's life with the additional little nugget?
It's fun. It's definitely sad to be away. I'm getting all these adorable pictures of him. They were at the zoo yesterday, and I was like,
Nice.
But yeah, everyone's good and healthy, and life is good.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to bring him up and meet the little fella.
Have you not met him? I guess you had to come up here. Yeah, man, that will be epic.
Goals.
Life goals.
So I wanted to talk to you today about how you listen to music. Do you listen to a lot of vinyl? Do you got like CD collection? Just stream like most people do today?
I would say I'm a pretty bad music listener, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like sporadic and random. A lot of times I don't often listen to vinyl, except Christmas time. We're always spinning vinyl just because it feels something nostalgic about it. So we'll throw on like Charlie Brown Christmas and
nice.
like old Nat King Cole and all these old Christmas records. But it's interesting. So my wife, Pip the Pansy, Erin, she always has to have something playing in the house. So if I'm home, but she doesn't like a lot of like vocal music all the time.
Oh, okay.
So most of the time at home, the background of my existence of life is like Mongolian throat singing or like
Gregorian chants.
Gregorian chants like monks or like weird like K-pop, just random different things. And so there's that. But then I don't know. I think sometimes when I'm driving, just like I'll stream stuff and I'll just listen to a record. I enjoy listening to records, just to hear the progression as it goes. And
do you tend to collect stuff from bands that you end up playing with and tour with?
No, not really. I mean, like we'll sometimes trade like CDs or something or something like that. But it's funny. I mean, really my musical listening growing up is very much just the people around me. Okay. Like I had two older sisters, and they were awesome. Like one sister was into like Pink Floyd, like just trippy stuff. Like she was kind of a hippie child. Mm-hmm. The other sister was into like the songwriting, like Bob Dylan, and then what my parents listened to. All that was kind of like I didn't really seek out my own music so much. I was just like, oh, cool, what's that? You listen to like I guess I'm listening to that.
Oh, awesome!
That's
interesting to look at things.
Yeah, I don't always. And life gets so crazy, and I'm always like playing music like on stage or at shows listening to bands. that I don't. A lot of times I just enjoy the quiet, like the meditativeness of just like driving with nothing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a different thing, but I do try to, when I do like sit down to listen, the actual act of listening, I feel like I listen a lot to lyrics. I listen a lot to. I'm a song guy, you know. I'm way more about the songs. That always hits me. So, yeah.
Nice. So you put out your last 2 full albums, both out on vinyl. So what basically is like the reason you decided to start pressing?
Well, I think the Graveyard Flower record was the first project that felt like a record.
Okay.
I think I technically called the other 2 projects EPs, even though one of them was, I think, 8 songs anyway, which could be a record. I think so. A part of it, I think, was that they both were like very much bodies of work with an idea and like a direction, like asking a question about like something and pursuing that in one body of work, and the sound too, where it's like these kind of are more of, I'm trying to have them sound like they fit together. And then, I mean, it's just a bucket list thing to have vinyl, like, as an art, like, it's the coolest thing ever. So the fact that they felt like a record, and then that next step of, like, packaging them like a true, like, full art project. Because, like, something about the size of vinyl and the fact that you can open it and you have like lyrics and it's this whole other artistic side to the project that informs, like, if you're listening and you're like looking at the lyrics and
just like you said, it kind of puts a little bit more intent to listening to these songs, and it's just, I like that, and that's why I've always loved vinyl, because it's just like it makes you stop and listen. Rather than streaming, it's just background noise a lot of times.
And the size, literally just the size, the fact that like even a CD is like so small, it's not as impactful as you pull this big thing out and you're like, wow, like what's going on here? And it's more like it captures you more than anything else. So I mean that's definitely like I'm gonna try to do vinyl at every project I do, like as much as I can. It's expensive, it's crazy, like it's hard to do, but it's definitely worth it. And I remember that with Graveyard Flower, I was talking to the people pressing, and they're like, well, do you want to do just a sleeve, or do you want to do the bifold that opens up? And like, it's like way more to do a bifold and all that stuff. Do you want to do colored vinyl? It's way more. I'm like, I'm doing this for me. So I want everything. Like, I want it to be a bifold. I want to have all the like lyrics on the inside. I want to do the colored vinyl. It's like, let's just do it, because if I never get to do this again, this is a cool thing for me to be able to like witness this project in its full form.
And it worked out. You just did your second pressing.
I know, and that was crazy, man. It took forever, but yeah, it's cool to sell out the first batch and to be halfway through the next one. It's like, it's cool.
So as an artist, what are some of the like the benefits of having vinyl, having your stuff released on vinyl that you've found?
Benefits, well, like I said, it's like a selfish thing of just, I want that. So it's like
a little ego coming out.
It's cool. Like you brewing beer. You're like I brewed this keg of beer because I like the taste of it, and I can share it with people or sell it to people or whatever. But it's ultimately, it's because you want to do that. But I don't know. I think people are drawn to it, and so there's that something special about it that I think people, at least certain people, like seek out, and those are the kind of people that I want to listen to my music. The people that would seek out vinyl. It's like that's way cooler.
Yeah. Any like hindrances to the
whole process?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Just.
I mean, it took forever. The past, like the Graveyard Flower second pressing was like a year or something.
Oh wow!
And I think it was something where I put down like 50% or 75%, somewhere I'm like, you know, $3,000 in the hole,
and with a zero return,
for like a year.
Yeah,
and so that's hard. It's hard to eat that cost. It's really just the cost is the hardest thing, and then storage. Like I got like just boxes of vinyl.
They take up a little bit of space.
Yeah.
How many? What number pressing the first one? How many did you press?
I forget. I want to say it was like maybe 300, 400.
Okay, and then for the second?
The second one's 500.
500?
Okay. And I sold, when I first announced that I had the new one, I just finally caught up with like all the orders from that of mailing them out. So it was like over 100. In the first day, it's like 100 orders of vinyl. So it's a lot, which is cool. But yeah, and the mailing, that's actually just, I suck at like the, like, organized stuff like that and mailing stuff out. It's one of those things that I forget.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm running around, I'm on tour, all this
stuff too.
Come home like, oh geez, I gotta mail out like 15 vinyl this week. Like, I don't know when that's gonna happen.
Do you think you're ever consider re-releasing any of your older stuff? Like little 10-inch EPs or even maybe singles on 7 inches?
Man, I never really thought about it. I think I'm just so far removed from some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it feels so distant. Just like that was almost like me figuring out my artistic identity. And then I feel like Graveyard Flower was more finally stepping into like, oh, okay, I kind of know who I am and what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. And Scoundrel was another like side of it. Like maybe they're like two opposite sides, and I explored both of them. Mm-hmm. But the earlier stuff just felt kind of, I don't know, like exploratory. But I don't know. It'd be cool. It'd be interesting to. People have definitely asked to put it out, but. Just a lot to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to do. Especially, like, I mean, it sounds like you got some new stuff written. You're getting ready to.
We recorded a record.
Oh, you already have it recorded.
March.
Oh, nice.
It's like being mixed. Yeah, we played 1 or 2 songs from it last night. But yeah, it's like being mixed sort of right now, and we're already. I want to record the next record, like that. That honestly, the hardest thing is just time and money. Because I feel like I could just make a record every 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel at least right now in my life, I feel I have a lot of songs that are written that I could do that with, but I just also feel like this last record, I didn't have all the songs written, and we had a couple days off on tour and wrote like 3 songs. Like we just kind of all sat down and some of my favorite songs on the record.
Nice.
So I think something about having a project, having something coming up helps me, like a record. Like if I was like, all right, I'm making a record, next month, and I'm going to block out these 2 weeks. Something about that makes me just spill out more creativity. Because there's an outlet for it,
Uh-huh.
Whereas if I'm just kind of hanging around with no goal, I mean, I'll still write stuff. Stuff will just kind of happen, but it's not really directed towards something as much,
Okay. So kind of like a juggernaut of creativity, so to speak. Just
it's like a clearing of the cache or something. Like once
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with this last record, once I recorded those songs, I was immediately like,
you have all this room now for the new thing.
Yeah, and I like the next thing to be different in some way. So it's like I have a different kind of vision for the next thing. I'm just like, I want to do that now. And I'm almost just like forget about the old stuff. It's not like, we're doing these mixes right now, and everyone else in the band, are kind of having different notes about the sounds. I'm just like, I think we just it's done, man. I don't even want to beat a dead horse. Like it, sure, things can always be better or change, but there's something nice about, like, I think that was a lesson I learned over the course of all these projects is, like, hold loosely and just do something, commit to it, move to the next thing, and it's the most fulfilling way to be creative, I think. So I don't even know what your question was. I'm rambling, Steve.
That's good, man. That's where the gold comes from.
Yeah.
So, home studio, how's that coming along?
Yeah, so funny thing, I think we got it on the mic. I don't know. I was talking about my son's like nursery room with the ceiling had a bunch of rat shit in it and rat dead body, like just skeletons of rats. So that was a big. I used the home studio as his nursery now.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, I built this 12 by 20 shed, little like single pitch shed, and we finally got floor in there. It's got the drywall. I basically just have to do trim, some trim on the outside and the inside, and the vocal booth is unfinished. There's like a little closet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have like a desk set up in there, but it is literally has his crib in there, and which is funny because he
has his own house.
He has his own house basically. Like I walk outside and put my baby in his crib in a different building, and I'm like, is he? I wonder if that's if he feels that, if he feels like independent or something.
Could be, yeah. I guess only time will tell.
Yeah, he's like, I'm ready to move out when he's like 10. He's like, yeah, I'm already used to this. I need my own kitchen now.
You're cramping my style, Dad. Goodness.
But yeah, I it's funny. I want to finish it. There's always. I love doing these little house projects like the bus and the studio, and it's. I need more time to just because it's sort of freeing to do something like that. That's totally different from like all the music, all the business music stuff. Just like
getting your hands dirty.
Yeah, your hands dirty project. You see what you've done at the end of the day. You're like, sweet. There's gutters on there now. Great. That feels good.
Yeah, and there's this weird like thinking that goes on. At least when I'm doing big projects like that. Like even though I'm so hyper focused on the task at hand, in the back of my mind, like ideas are just blooming back there. It's kind of like the theory of chewing gum when you're listening to a presentation. Like it puts it into your deeper into your memory, into your long term memory. It's kind of like that kind of a thing where I'm so busy doing this and looking at the boards I'm cutting or whatever thing I'm installing, but my mind is in the background, kind of just going and popping off.
Yeah, especially when you get in like something that's like kind of like I'm laying down floor.
Yeah,
it's just repetitive.
Yep.
And then it's and I feel that also when I'm driving because I drive all the fucking time. But it's like, it's like you're doing something that you think a little bit about, but not too much about, and then your mind can kind of wander. And a lot of songwriting ideas happen for me in that state, like when I'm driving. But yeah, I feel that it's sort of meditative to work on stuff and just have a little project. And that's the other thing is like if I had just an infinite amount of money. If I would probably just make records every like 6 months or even more, like just like boom, with a block off 3 weeks, we're gonna go to some new place every time, make a record, boom, and then in between I would just do like endless house projects like this. Just be like, all right, I'm gonna add let's add a crow's nest on the roof, like just whatever crazy idea, just like cool, let's do this. It's just those are the things that it's just so fulfilling. Like as far as like quote unquote work.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
So do you plan on recording in this studio, or you just kind of just have it as more of a practice space, writing space?
Yeah, I definitely want to record something. It's more of like for solo. I could fit a band in there, it'd be tight, but it's more of like how I recorded Graveyard Flower was sort of track by track, and it'll be more like that, where like that space is ideal for just me in there, lay down guitar, lay down some percussion, and just build it like that.
Yeah.
And I have a group of songs and like sort of a project that would be, and I'd probably record in there. And then it's just great for any sort of, there's all sorts of things where sometimes I need to overdub some part or like shoot a video and like have it. It's just it's sort of just my office space for all things musical.
Nice.
Nice.
So any other big plans for any world domination?
God, just trying to freaking stay afloat, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, new record. That'll be fun, and I want to do an addition on the house. So that's Those are my two big things.
Yeah, well, the family grew a little, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. So for those of you that might not know, Sam is married to another musical artist, Pip the Pansy. So how's Pip doing these days?
She's good. She did a few festivals this past spring. She definitely slowed down by choice she was very much all about being in mom mode, and I think she's just now has the itch to be more involved with creative things. She's done some collaborations with other bands that have like hired her to record with her.
Yeah, like I heard this Little Stranger.
Yeah, Little Stranger, and this band Tall Heights, sort of like more of a pop band that she flew to Boston and did like a week of recording with them. So she's been doing some more stuff, and I think she's less interested in touring so much and wants to do more like collaborative creative things, like honestly like producing and just working with people in the studio and stuff. So but she's well. I mean, we're just figuring out this new phase of life and the balance of creativity and work and family, and like how does it all mesh,
Yeah, and I mean, do you think are you kind of finding that balance, you think, pretty good, or do you still feel lost?
I don't know. I mean, we're definitely not as lost as we were 2 years ago when we were here in the bus, not knowing what to do.
not owning any property.
Not owning anything except for the bus.
Bus and the guitar.
So I think the way it is right now is like we're course correcting as we go. And so right now, this very moment, it's been too busy. I've been doing too much touring.
Yeah.
And we both know it, and we're just like, and music goes so far out that we're at the mercy of the calendar at this point of like, okay, we got to make it to like November. Like once we get to like Thanksgiving, things are a little bit more space, and then so right now, like looking at the next year, looking at the spring, I'm trying to be mindful about that, and it's hard because just like everybody else, especially if you're out there as the sole provider for a family, it's like, okay, I have to work so that we have basic existence. What is the least amount I can work to support a family to where I can still be present as a father and a husband? And that's a hard thing, and I've seen so many different men struggle with that, and I think a lot of, I don't know, my tendency is to probably overwork, and I think a lot of, like we were just talking about, it's fun to work a lot of times. I like going on the road. I like building stuff at home. So I think just trying to find that sweet spot of, okay, am I home 2 weeks and gone 2 weeks, and can I make enough money doing that to where we actually pay our mortgage? Like,
it's a definite balance.
Yeah, and it's not clear to me. What is clear is that it's a constant conversation, and that I think we're trying to be aware of that with our marriage and like what we want it to look like as a family. So it's busier than we'd like to be right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Dan Rodriguez, he has that song, I believe it's called Troubadour Family Man, and it's just talking about that balance between, doing his passion and his music and his art and that road time, but then like, and I think it actually has another, it's a lyric in that song, I don't want to misspeak, but there's a line in it, and it might be a completely different song. I'm talking about being a daddy on the phone or something to that effect.
Yeah, man, I did a lot of FaceTime good mornings when and it's hard. I mean, it's emotional kind of every time I roll out of the driveway, honestly. Like because I mean, it's fun to be like, it's hard to be home too. Like, I mean, you got a toddler, you're not sleeping, you're running around trying to, but it's fun. Like, this age, he's so fun. He's just like a little wild man. Like,
all the discovery, and it's a cool thing to witness.
Yeah, so I want to be there for that, and now I want to also like be able to provide for us and be mindful of the future. Know that I can't tour forever. I don't know what my music career will look like. I don't know so just I'm trying to do what I can now, and the other thing is I've always tried to hold music loosely and lightly, and not. I see some people in their lives with their careers or passions where they hold it so tightly that they destroy everything else around them. Mm-hmm. You know, like I want to be a painter so bad that I'll do anything for that, and then you lose relationships and your family suffers. So I always want to be mindful of, look, if I need to step away from music and do whatever else, like go sling drywall. It's like the worst thing I could think of. Like go do drywall. Then,
concrete's worse.
Concrete's worse. Yeah, well, that's just toxic. Yeah, but yeah, like if I have to do that, I'm not above it, and I don't want to ever think that music is permanent. You know. Mm-hmm. So that's how
good attitude. I
try to be that way.
So do you think your like attitude towards your career has changed since Mickey came, or is it maybe changing still? Or
maybe it's in a change, and I think part of it is more of a realization of priorities, and I think there's things now that I 100% will have more clarity on when I'm turning stuff down. Like even this weekend, there was an awesome, kind fan who has some awesome property, and they were like, "You should come after the Chicago show and like camp out, and like we can just hang out and like have beers by the fire." And I'm like, "That sounds awesome." And then as it approaches, I'm like, "No, I want to get home sooner."
Yeah,
that's fun. And yeah, me, 3 years ago, like, this is great. Everyone, we're gonna have a fun time. We'll just, but stuff like that. It's like, no. If I'm gonna be gone, this is very intentional. I'm gonna have fun and be present while I'm out here. Gonna go to Joe's garage and party with the Deadheads. But I wanna get home as soon as I can. And someone was telling me recently, which I think is great advice as a parent, like when I'm home, when I'm with Mickey, when I'm with my wife and kid, like I want to be all attention there. And so it's like, yeah, it's a priority shift of, and that's the thing I think I'm working on and struggling with is my brain is hard. It's hard for my brain to like shut off all the, work, careers, all the stuff that you're worried about the future. Where you're like, all right, I got this coming up. I got to make sure I do this. I got to pay this. I got to just to shut all that off and just be like, boom, I'm here. I'm with my kid. Like we're just playing in the dirt.
Yeah,
and that's all it needs to be right now.
Life should be that simple.
It should be that simple, and I'm working on that because it's hard to transition back and forth from you're on the road, you're all in work mode to like for a week or 2 or 3, and then to come home and be like, I have to transition and like very quickly, like turn that off. Like I'm home now, set all that stuff down, and just be present there. It's hard, but. Yeah, that's sort of the shift is priorities of, real clarity that music, before it was like my wife, my music career comes after that, and it serves that, and now it's my wife and my kid, so you bump the music career down, it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to let the listeners know of? Any upcoming tour dates, or?
Yeah, I mean we're touring, like I said, pretty thoroughly until November. We're doing kind of stuff out in Texas, some stuff East Coast. I haven't announced yet, but I'm doing my first stuff on the West Coast, some solo stuff out there.
Awesome.
In the fall too, so that'll be fun. But yeah, we're staying super busy. We appreciate anyone out there listening and supporting. It is huge and makes a big difference. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Let everybody know where they can find you.
Sam Burchfield, BURCHFIELD .com, and just any other social medias, just that.
Awesome.
I got one question.
Oh, come on.
All right, so
Who is this guy?
Like the show, I like to just ingratiate myself.
And he uses big words.
Ingratiate. Give me a second to define that.
I'm tall and it goes over my head a lot of times.
So there's some chatter that maybe on your new album there's a song that is about Appleton or inspired by Appleton, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Is that true? Do you care to comment on this?
Sure, yeah. So this is a song I wrote. Yeah, this is a great, full circle. I mentioned, when my wife were here staying in Ripon and the bank followed the heist there. When we were living on the bus, found out we were pregnant. So I'm in Wisconsin for a month, and during that time, this song just kind of came out of me that was, kind of funny, like tongue-in-cheek about people drinking too much. Which happens a lot here. Yeah, like someone told me it was the #1 drinking town, or state, Wisconsin is. So I was like, that's pretty funny. So yeah, this song called Who the Hell Are You? And I do...
It's a great live song.
Yeah, super fun. So fun. Yeah, and I remember I wrote it, and I hadn't even really finished it yet, and I played it at Mile 2 years ago. Like I scribbled some final verse in the parking lot. I was like, I think I'm just gonna try to do it, and it was awesome. And yeah, so it mentions it used to be the Red Lion Hotel, which is now like Hilton something.
Yeah, I think
it keeps changing.
It's still a Paper Valley. It's just it's like the Hilton at the Paper Valley or something. Every 3 years it changes hands.
So I kept it with what it was back in the day, Red Lion Hotel. It did a little shout out to Appleton. And, so that'll be on the new one. So
nice.
Right.
Awesome.
Glad to hear that. Goodbye.
Cool, man. Well, hey, it's been great. I appreciate your sharing your stories and your thoughts on life. Much appreciated.
Dude, thanks for being so supportive, man.
Hey, anytime.
Heck yeah.
Today we're talking about Sam Burchfield's Scoundrel. Released in March of 2022, the second full-length album by Sam Burchfield is hot. I've been a longtime fan and friend of Sam, and I was stoked to hear this album the first time through, especially due to the fact my first listen was on a test pressing. This album has it all, from low-down outlaw ballads to feel-good redemption songs. Sam's description of the album is this: Welcome to the Scoundrel Saga, a tale of greed, betrayal, heartbreak, revenge, and redemption. And boy, does it live up to the hype. As you just heard from Sam in our interview, this thing is a true piece of art. The whole thing is solid, from stem to stern. Do yourself a favor and grab a copy while you can. Better yet, go see these guys live and then grab a copy. And tell them Steve sent you. I'm obviously giving this one 5 out of 5 hell yeahs. This has been In the Sleeve with Steve. Now here's Sugarcane from the album Scoundrel.
Till the moon comes on. Tomorrow, ooh, that's a new day. And I'll be free if I get away. Take your Bible, take your money, leave it on the floor. Bring your baby, bring your honey, don't come back for more. You say, what you know about Sugar King? I such a sweet and dirty thing. A good sugar cane. Sorrow is strong, but I'll be running tomorrow. Damn, that's a new day. Get away. Take your Bible, take your money, leave it on the floor. Bring your baby, bring your honey, don't come back for more. You said, what you know about sugar cane, such a sweet and dirty thing. A good fortune makes good sing. Drink it down. Sugar cane. Yeah, sugar cane. Sugar cane. Mama, sugar cane.
All right, Sam. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, doing that interview.
Yeah,
and
what a nice guy.
Yeah, heck of a guy. And if you guys like what you heard from the music sample, please go out and support him. Download his music legally. Check out his website. Buy merch from him, everything like that, and make sure you catch a show with him.
Yeah. And be sure to check out his wife's music, Pip the Pansy. Totally different vibe than what he
Completely
does.
different
I
genre
love
of
that the
music.
two of them are both musicians, and like their music sounds nothing like each other. Like,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
she does a cool thing too.
Yeah, Pip's got some. She's got some great stuff. Pip actually does some touring with Sam every now and again as well. It's been a little bit since the birth of their son, but that's how I was introduced to these guys. Is at the Mile of Music. They'd come up and it was just Sam was just getting his stuff going, his career really popping, and it was just expensive to bring a band up at that time. So they kind of threw together this little duo thing, and she did some backup vocals with them and a little ukulele playing and some. She's a beautiful flautist, I believe.
Yeah.
Did she rock a flute?
Oh,
She
she
does.
totally rocks
Yeah.
flute. She can rap. She can flute rap. She's amazing. But she also can play like the most beautiful stuff.
Yeah, she does this very like electronic music stuff. Honestly, I don't know if it was the first time I saw it was around the first time I saw either of them. It was a Mile of Music, and I was going to try and catch Pip at a tiny bar. Oh, you were there too.
Yep.
And like her voice was starting to give out, and she was playing the Courtyard later that night. So like that's
The
the,
big
huge
show, yeah,
the
big
huge
set.
show. Like she's and but her voice was giving out. So Sam went in her place and did her set. But he sang her songs, so he's like singing a falsetto and like
Yeah, because at that time too, as like she would back him up on his sets,
Yeah.
and then he was kind of like a keyboardist, and he would drop some tones and whatever. And he was kind of like her backup thing. So he knew the songs and the sequences and whatnot. So he went out and he did a lot of crowd singing, and like, hey, help me sing this because I can't sing this part.
He had fun with it, but that was
yeah.
kind of a special thing.
I
to
believe
catch.
did he wear his unicorn head?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. He might have maybe for a little bit, but that was a special night. And that just shows you how nice of a guy Sam is. Do that for his wife.
Well,
so,
and how versatile the two of them are, and
that too.
and, you know, working together. Anyway,
Good marriage works together.
yeah, we love you, Sam.
Yeah.
All right. And then one more thing, we want to actually say a big thank you to one of our leaders in the Appleton Podcast Co-op. That's a collection of Wisconsin podcast members, people who do shows locally here with us. So if you're everything from, gospel type religious things, there's stuff about, true crime murder podcasts. There's so many good local homegrown podcasts on this in this collective. So please make sure to check them out. And we want to make sure we give a good shout out to David, and I'm going to apologize because I'm probably going to say your name wrong, Caslow.
Caslow?
Caslow.
Caslow?
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry for mispronouncing it, but he actually included us on a best of list for podcasts in Wisconsin. We made it all the way up to number 2. So we wouldn't have been able to do that without, support of, like people from this group and, people who just love music in general.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So
yeah, we're going to do our best to get down to one of these podcasts and pints nights.
yes, they do a coffee one during the daytime too sometimes.
Oh, okay. When do we do that?
yeah.
I got softball on Wednesday nights for the next few weeks. So.
My understanding, it's an early day for that coffee in the morning. So
Hence the coffee.
exactly. So that kind of wraps everything up for us. We hope you guys are all having a really great summer. And last but not least, we want to make sure you remember,
there is always more vinyl.
wow, you guys had one job and you messed it up.
I felt like I said it last week. I thought Steve should say it.
You've been saying it every week. So.
Yeah, well, whatever. Anyway, guys,
We'll get you some vinyls.
get you some vinyls.
Yeah, I got some pros over here.
Real pros. All right, guys, have a good night.